Warning, if you have posted anything remotely against the Chinese government online, then I would highly recommend that you do not go to Hong Kong.
Now, Hong Kong's legislature has passed a tough new security law.
It is deeply troubling to see the passage of Article 23 in Hong Kong.
What is called Article 23 of its basic law.
Hong Kong lawmakers approved a controversial new national security law.
City's pro-China lawmakers passed the latest national security law unanimously. It introduces dozens of new crimes and threatens up to life imprisonment.
And even if you were planning on going to Hong Kong, I'm even talking about connecting flights to go somewhere else. Let's say you're flying from London to South Korea or Thailand or whatever, and you have a connecting flight in Hong Kong, there is now an excellent chance that you will go to jail, possibly for life. If you're not using a VPN, you're doing yourself a massive disservice. You gotta keep yourself safe and private online if you care about your privacy and you don't want people to see what you're doing or all of your personal information. And that's why I'm super happy to work with Surfshark VPN. It's so fast and easy to use. All you gotta do is connect to the server that offers you the best speed by default. Once you're on, you're encrypted. It creates a capsule, a case around your internet connection that no one else can see what you're doing. But it's not just that, it's also super handy as a world traveler. You could use Surfshark VPN to overcome location-based price discrimination. I'm not even joking. All you have to do is hop around to different servers and you get different prices, lower prices on plane tickets and car rentals, depending on what server you connect to. Not only that, you can get access to different countries' streaming libraries. For example, if you connect to a different country on Surfshark VPN, and then you go on Netflix, you'll be able to see what shows are available in that country versus yours. Go to surfshark.deals/Lawai86 to get up to 3 additional months for free. That's surfshark.deals/Lawai86 and use the code Lawai86 to protect your online privacy today. Honestly, I don't want to be one of those YouTubers who is over-exaggerating for effect, but this new law amongst experts is definitely agreed upon as the final nail in the coffin for Hong Kong and anybody that speaks out against the Chinese government. It's sad to say that it's been fully absorbed into mainland China, and the overreaching government in Beijing has managed to get a law called Article 23 passed. The apparent overarching purpose of Article 23 is to stifle any and all criticism of the Chinese and Hong Kong authorities and their policies within the city and globally. The extraterritorial reach of this legislation would leave no one safe from being labeled a threat to national security, and that was from Amnesty China Director Sarah Brooks. The new law deals with 5 types of offenses: treason, insurrection, theft of state secrets, sabotage, and external interference. Now that sounds like a fairly normal set of circumstances to be arrested on, right? Well, that's the beauty and the deceit of this law. If it were like the USA, if you were arrested on these charges, they would most likely be these charges. But in Hong Kong now, anything can fall under the umbrella of one of these laws. Simon Young, a law professor of the University of Hong Kong, said, for example, an act of espionage under the new laws could include the passing of information or document that is considered useful to an external force. Professor Young also objected to the legislation's sweeping definition of sedition, which includes an intent to bring disaffection against the state or its institutions. Disaffection is an emotional state of too low a threshold to be the subject of a crime. It is not a crime to simply feel this way. You see how this gets very scary? If you show disaffection, which definition is a state of feeling of being dissatisfied with people in authority and no longer willing to support them, you can go to jail. And remember, these punishments range from 7 years all the way to life in prison. No wonder Hong Kong's Freedom Index is in absolute freefall, heading down to meet China at its 9 out of 100. Here's another example. The legislation's vague wording, for example, is comparable to language found in security legislation found in mainland China. And someone who shares this information that appears to be confidential in matter, even if it's not classified as a state secret, could be punished if that person intended to endanger national security in the eyes of the authorities. It's up to them. If you post something online for the world to see that the authorities consider to be a confidential matter, maybe a protest, maybe a tweet about the Chinese government, how it's oppressing its people, maybe a natural disaster that the government doesn't want people to know about, anything that the government doesn't want people to see, this is now up to authorities to decide if it's a confidential matter or not. Certainly, these laws only affect the people in Hong Kong and mainland China, right? You're safe. That's where you'd be wrong. Amnesty International China's director Sarah Brooks said, "There's an extraterritorial effect of the law, meaning it's not limited to Hong Kong. Beijing's national security law claims global jurisdiction, which in part prompted several other nations to tear up extradition treaties with Hong Kong. If you talk smack, no matter where you are, or support democracy in Hong Kong or China or whatever, you're basically a wanted criminal anywhere you are in the world. The new vague and broadly worded crime of external interference could lead to the prosecution of activists for exchanges with foreign actors framed as endangering national security. People in Hong Kong would have to be incredibly careful going forward. When the first national security law was passed in 2020 to stop millions of people protesting in support of democracy, which is what happened in Hong Kong in 2019, scores of people were arrested to create a climate of fear. Maya Wang, acting China director at Human Rights Watch, said it would usher Hong Kong into a new era of authoritarianism. Now, even possessing a book critical of the Chinese government can violate national security and mean years in prison in Hong Kong, she said. A government advisor said that priests who heard confessions about national security offenses like treason could they themselves be charged under the new laws if they don't report on what they heard. Now, you will most likely never see a 2019-era Hong Kong protest ever happen again, but this applies to anyone who ends up in the territory. And yes, I'm talking about connecting flights. If the authorities know that you are somebody who has sway online and has posted something that they don't like, they can and will make an example out of you. In fact, hundreds of people have been arrested under the 2020 national security law already. It's less of whether they will go after every single person who's ever posted anything negative about the Chinese government, because that would just be impossible, but it's more about the fact that they can go after anyone that has said anything negative about the Chinese government. The entire document from Amnesty is linked below, and it gives fantastic insight into how bad this actually is. It's really actually sad to see what Hong Kong has become. Previously, a democratic and vibrantly diverse example of what China could be. The hub of Asia, one of the most important financial centers of the world, in fact, one of my favorite places in the entire world as well. One that China really needs as an interface with the rest of the world. This is China's link to the rest of the world was Hong Kong. But China's control over the global narrative is more important to the leadership of China than the economy or the freedom of its own citizens. Because of the stranglehold of Hong Kong and its people, the stock market is in the toilet. Nobody wants to invest in what has basically become China at this point. Thousands are fleeing, taking their skills, English language ability, high level of education, and talents elsewhere. And with that, Hong Kong will never, ever be what it was. A vibrant, free society ever again. It pains me to say, Hong Kong is over, said Stephen Roach, an economist and former chairman of Morgan Stanley Asia, long known for its optimism about the city. And you know what? I agree with him. If you guys want to see up-to-date current events, everything that's happening in China, you got to go to the most important show about China, and that's called The China Show. It's every single Friday. It's everything that's been happening within the country, from people in the country, with videos, evidence, everything. Whether it's funny, whether it's in between, whether it's something really, really grim and horrible, we cover the entire spectrum of what's really going on in China. So definitely go check it out and make sure you're subscribed to there. I want to say thank you so much, and I'll catch you on the next one.